And so we're going to start out with the school trustees. And I'm only going to tell you their name because I don't want to take anything away from their presentation. So we'll ask Ilona Arnett to come up first. Please welcome her.
Good evening, and thank you very much for coming out this evening. It's great to see everyone here. I've heard from a lot of people, wow, you know, they're amazed that we've come all this way out here, that are all the votes worth it and things like that. And I thought about it and I thought, you know, there was never any question in my mind about coming out here. To me, the issues that we have in the rural areas are bigger than many of the issues that we have in the city. The influences of your population and enrollment declines are making an enormous impact on your community. And so those are things that are very important and need to be addressed. And probably a considerably larger amount of the past trustees' time was taken on rural issues. I think what has mainly made me want to run as a school trustee is what I've observed over the last 10 years, and that's the declining relationship between the BC government and the teachers and the school trustees. The relationship has got so much animosity in it that every day you read in the paper about worsening relations, and I think that some of the issues that are there have more to do with politics than they really have to do with than education. And that's one of the areas that I'd like to be able to have some influence on. In my past 10 years, before I currently work for the regional district of Fraser-Fort George. So I do come out to Valemont and McBride and look after things like your transfer station, your garbage and things like that. But I work in the finance department, so I help them with their banking and things like that and the bookkeeping. But prior to that, I was time goes by quick, you guys. I worked for an Indian band in northwestern BC as a band manager, and one of my duties was recruiting teachers and making sure that the school operations were running, that we had enough funding. And you know, I have to tell you, contrary to what you hear, Indian bands get quite a bit of funding, particularly in the areas of education. This school had everything. It had hot breakfasts, it had lunches, it had teachers that were enthusiastic, it had just wonderful programs, all the high-tech things you could want. And so money and funding was not an issue here. So you think, wow, you know, pardon? Okay, thanks. But you know what was lacking? And that was parental input. And so I'm very heartened to see all you people turning out tonight, and just ask you to keep that in mind, that 50% of your child's education comes from you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Our next candidate is Betty Beckering.
Thank you. Good evening. It's great to be with you tonight, and I thank you for this opportunity. McBride and Valemont certainly have an election fever. We were so impressed with seeing all the signs and the number of candidates, and in preparing for this campaign myself, I tried to access as much of the current information as I could to find out what the various stakeholders were saying about BC's education status. Several phrases jumped out at me, such as schools in the future, what has to change and why, better schools for BC, education as a fundamental right. To me, the overwhelming implication of all this material is that our education system is not well. The most significant statement is that kids matter. Why should we have to use that statement, except as a wake-up call to the government, the public, and school boards? It should be what our whole system is about. It should be the foundation of every decision that's made regarding the education system, from funding formulas to classroom size and composition to inclusion for all. Kids matter. Simple words with profound meaning. Then I thought about the skill base and qualities that you, the voters, would be looking for. And I think we can all agree that the funds coming to School District 57 are inadequate. The budget has been so severely cut over the years, it has become detrimental to learning. I think what you're looking for in a trustee is one who will champion this perspective and will raise these issues at the board table. I will absolutely defend public education as a fundamental right. The United Nations has endorsed this statement, and School District 57 needs to be a part of this global picture. Thank you.
This one?
No. That needs to be taken.
Still. Okay. Now, it was just brought to my attention to make sure that I ask all the candidates to make sure that they speak into the mic so that everybody at the back can hear. So you need to be close to the mic. So our next speaker is Trish Bella.
Hello there, I am Trish Bella. Currently I sit as the Vice Chair of the Board of Education for School District 57. I'm the mother of a teenage daughter who is enrolled within the school district. She's at D.P. Todd Secondary. And I became involved as a parent volunteer when she entered kindergarten in 2001, and quickly found my passion for education for all the students. It wasn't just that she was at the school, it was that there were 350 students at that school at the time. And from there, I moved on into the district, became a lot more interested in what's happening, what's going on in our district, what's happening for our students, and became involved as a parent volunteer or as a parent voice again at the district level. I ran in 2005 and was not successful. I came in 8th and we elect 7. But at that point, I was able to bring leadership to the parents, and we were replacing the playgrounds at that time. And we put together a group of 28 schools to see that the schools got, whether you had an active school, parent base, or regardless of where you were, if it was a small school, you were able to get a playground in. I ran again in 2008, and for the first 2 years of my term, I was a provincial council representative for our district and was able to speak at the provincial level and bring the concerns of our district down to that level and say, we are unique up here. We have a huge district, we have a variety of issues, and we need to have some attention here, whether it be with rural funding or whether it be with inner city schools. We had it all up here. I would like to have the opportunity to come back and be that strong voice, and that's why I'm seeking re-election and hoping for your support in that. Recently, I became a director on the Canadian Mental Health Association board, and I'm hoping to bridge that also for our students so that we can talk about a healthy student, total healthy package, have them prepared for the success in their later years. So I'm seeking re-election and hope to have your support. Thank you.
Our next speaker this evening is Tim Bennett.
Apparently I have to crouch a little. So good evening, my name's Tim Bennett, and first off I'd like to just say a big thank you to all of you for coming out, and to the Valemount Chamber of Commerce, Toastmasters Valemount, and the Rocky Mountain Goat for hosting tonight's forum. I've always believed that when youth are empowered and given the proper resources and support, they are able to do great things in our community. I've been an advocate for children and youth for many years and have sat on many local, regional, and provincial boards with some great organizations such as Big Brothers Big Sisters, Scouts Canada, Volunteer Prince George, and Active Support Against Poverty. I'm running for trustee because I believe it is time for a change. It is time for stakeholders to have a say in the education process, and it is time to look at partnerships and collaborations to provide students with additional, but more important, equal opportunities for success. For trustees to make informed decisions, I believe that parents, students, teachers, support staff, and administration all need to have a seat around the table, and it is when important decisions need to be made, proper consultation needs to happen. If elected, I would be committed to ensuring that I am part of the communities in the district, so I know what is going on. I've been a regional representative in the past, so I have no concerns with hopping in my car and visiting all the areas I represent. My background is in the not-for-profit community, and I believe that mentality and my proactive approach will help make our district stronger. We need to look at ways to reallocate the funds that we receive from the provincial government. Is there ways to spend less and do more? During the last set of school closures, many great ideas were brought forward from the community, and these ideas need to be reviewed and new ideas need to come forward. Cutting service should be done at a last resort. We need to find ways to put money back where they belong, in the classroom. It is time for a proactive approach for education, and it is time for stakeholders to feel that their voice is heard. We need to find local solutions for local issues. If you have questions or concerns, or would like to share a success from your school, I'd love to hear from you. Let's work together for a better education for all students across the school district.
Chris Benson.
Thank you. Again, thank you to all of you for coming out tonight, and the GOAT and the Chamber of Commerce for hosting this event. Basically, I have a very simple platform here. I wouldn't expect an accountant to go in and teach a grade 3 class. I don't know why we're expecting teachers to run the budget. I believe that we can centralize the administration of the finances of this district and allow business people to run the business. Now, it's hard to look at the schools and say, is this really a business? Well, I believe it was Dr. George Awama that I first heard identify the education as a business. But our students aren't the customer. Our students are the product, and we must be sending out the best product we can, because it is by our product that we are known. School District 57 should be known as having exceptionally good products that come out of our high schools and go into the workforce. At this moment, because of the funding constraints, I feel as though there is a lot that could be done that isn't being done, and part of that can come as a result of reallocating funds towards a more efficient manner. In looking at the school district's budget, we can note that a 1% gain in efficiency would give us $1.2 million more to spend. A teacher costs $80,000, give or take, each year. That's a fair number of teachers that we could hire and clean up some of the situations that we're facing in the district. Earlier I heard about McBride, where they've got 3 grades and 2 separate 3-grade classrooms. And I don't think that that is acceptable, and I think that we need to work towards having our rural schools with as much, if not more, support than we see in the Prince George City schools. Once again, I'm glad. Thank you for coming out, and go and vote on the 19th.
Andrew Burton.
Good evening. I'm Andrew Burton. I am running for school board because for the last 15 years I've been working with young people in northern British Columbia. Some of you know me. I run the Street Spirits Theatre Company, and we've been here on this stage working with young people to express the issues that are of concern to our communities. We're talking about a school system, and a school system is not just about what we're doing here today. A school system is about what's going to be happening in this community and in this province and in this country 10 years from now and 15 years from now. We don't know right now what our world is going to be like in 15 years. Think about what life was like 15 years ago. How much have things changed? The skills that you needed 15 years ago aren't the skills you need today. And the skills you need today aren't the ones that we're going to need in 15 years from now. We need to develop a school system that enables young people to learn and to continue to learn. We need to develop a school system that creates community, that creates building for the future. And we need to do that without nitpicking over money. That's the big issue, is always money. One of the things that I was told early was that being a part of the school board is all about money. Well, That may be so, but it shouldn't be all about money for the school system. We need to find the money. We need to make it work. Do we need to make cuts? We need to do things efficiently, yes. But we need to find the money to make our future, to make our children's future. That's what's important. Thank you.
Valentine Crawford.
Short walk. Good evening. My name is Valentine Crawford, and I am running for re-election. We just heard about a three-grade split in McBride, and guess what? My sister is in that class. I grew up in McBride, believe it or not. 4 years I went to elementary school, went to high school, and my two brothers also attend high school. Education is hugely important to me because guess what? I was a grade 10 dropout. Yes, and I was saved by the district. We have a huge educational opportunity around alternate education, and I am such a product and a passionate advocate for education because it changed my life. I am a successful college graduate, and believe you me, my sister now has learning disabilities, and the situation that she is in is incredibly strong. They try to make it work, and you know what? Every single teacher, every one of you here tonight, we're not just a community, we are a family, and it takes each and every one of us to raise our kids, to educate our kids. That's what I believe in. That's why I'm seeking re-election as a trustee. I may have been elected when I was 25 years old. I'm 28 now, but you know what? We do make a difference. And it's through education that I strongly believe that is going to change the world. I know we have an issue here, right in Valemount, close to home, with a low enrollment high school and an elementary school that is incredibly struggling with special needs kids. And I'm committing tonight, as a trustee, to form a roundtable that consists of partner groups, educational, the mayor, council, everyone, because we need to start talking about solutions for Valemount. We have a lot of issues, and it's going to take all of us to come to those solutions. Thank you for coming out tonight. I'm going to keep it short, and look for your support on the 19th. Thank you.
Brenda Hooker.
Good evening. Thank you for coming. My name is Brenda Hooker, and I'm a trustee candidate. I put my name in for the election because I have a real passion for youth and education and a desire for public service and community involvement. I think the key strengths that I would bring to the position are that I have a son in the school system, I have a CGA accounting designation, and I served a term in McBride on municipal council from 96 to 99. So I know a little bit about local government. I have a common sense approach and would look to issues that arise analytically to fully research the issues and make informed decisions at the trustee table. The only promise that I can make is that I would be accountable to the electorate after the election and would approach my trustee duties with honesty, integrity, and hard work. I have three main goals in a trustee role. I would like to see increased fiscal discipline at the district to be able to fund more resources back into the classrooms. I would like to see more meaningful consultation between the board and its stakeholders. And I would like to be a strong voice for rural issues at the trustee table. I think in the fiscal discipline area, we have issues with declining enrollment, as Valentine mentioned, in all the areas, in the rural communities particularly. And that is a concern with how do we fund that education in the classroom and support the special needs students and the rural students. And it shouldn't be about the money, but it often comes down to that. So I would like to see ways that we can make efficiencies in our budget to fund more of those special needs and resources to the rural communities. As far as consultation, I think I would like to see more informal processes between the board and its stakeholders and learning partners, town halls, different focus groups, particularly around budget allocations and new education initiatives. And as far as rural, I know rural communities. I grew up in McBride. I have friends and family in Valemount and McBride and McKinsey. And I would really love to be your trustee representative. Thank you very much.
Sean Peters.
Good evening. A few years ago, I decided I wanted to run for trustee because as a presenter in the schools, I never was able to come out to this area because of funding. I'd like to look at getting the school district to fund more groups to come out to McBride, Valemount, and Mackenzie so that the schools can have equal presenters coming out. I'd like to be able to look at creating additional sources of revenue coming in so we're not totally dependent on the provincial government. Another big issue that came to my mind was safety. Student safety is prime. In September, I went to an elementary school with a police officer in plain clothes, and you know what? There wasn't a teacher or parent on that playground that stopped and asked who we were and why we were asking for kids or willing to take a kid home. Not one teacher or parent stopped us. So safety is a big thing. As a presenter for 8 years, I was never asked for a criminal record check. So parents need them every year, but it seems presenters and a lot of times teachers fall through the cracks and don't necessarily have to have them all the time. So I want to create a system where it's better tracking for everyone. If we can create something like that, market it properly, we could actually generate revenue from doing something like that. It would also make the teacher's job easier. They want to do a presentation on food and nutrition or bullying, they could just type that in and it'd give them a list of who the presenters are in the district that would be willing to do that. I think parents and students need a bigger voice. I don't think the current DPAC system or the District Advisory Student Council is working to give the rural schools the voice that they need. So that's why I decided to run.
Our next speaker is Dawn Sabo.
Hello everyone, my name is Don Sable and I'm running for Prince George District 57 School Trustee. I've been involved in public education as a parent and from a parent's perspective for quite some time now. I have been sitting on my son's elementary school parent advisory committee for 5 years. I've also been a chair for the District Parent Advisory Council for 3 years. I'm passionate about education. I believe that it is vital for our children to have quality public education, and it's one of the reasons why I'm standing here today is because I believe passionately that public education is that important for our kids' future. I have had a lot of experience in the past as a consultant. I've done many projects. Some of the skills and the knowledge and the abilities that I bring to the table are strategic planning, as well as project planning and budgeting. Policy development, all of these skills are something that is needed at the board table. The school board is involved heavily in policy development, and it should be and will be involved in strategic planning. As far as the strategic planning process goes, I've been involved as a DPAC with key stakeholders. They're internal stakeholders to the public education system. At the DPAC meetings, there's a lot of stakeholders that are required to make public education work in this district. You have the Prince George District Teachers Association. You have the Principal and Vice Principals Association. You have CUPE. You have the school board, and then you have school administration. All of these internal stakeholders have to work together to deliver quality public education to the students. With a strategic planning process, we're looking at input from external stakeholders. We're looking at input from you, regional districts, Valemount, McBride, Mackenzie. We want to know what your vision of a school district is going to be like 10 years from now. So I know that the past process has been the school district's been making the decisions and you're being informed about those decisions. But I want to turn that around. I want input from you. And if you elect me as trustee, that's what will happen. Thank you.
Cheryl Warrington.
Good evening. It's so pleasant to be here again in Valemount. You have a beautiful valley and it's cold and windy. I chose to run for re-election for the third term. This will be, I've finished 6 years and I'm going for another 3. And I'm certainly hoping that I will be able to continue the work that needs to be done because there is much work to be done. Your valley, your needs, your voice. We need to be representing you. and we are aware of the challenges that you face in your schools and that you face in your community. And as other trustees at this table have said, it's important that we hear your voice and that we speak on your behalf. For 36 years, I have worked in the system as an educator for 30 years, and now again as a trustee. I have gained extensive experience in education at the school level as an elementary and secondary teacher, and as in the district working on behalf of yourselves, and at the regional level and at the provincial level at the BC School Trustees Association level. The most pressing issue of the next 3 years will be to address a changing school system. We are facing different times, and your students, your children, your grandchildren need to have different opportunities if they're going to be successful. During the next 3 years, there will be both challenges and opportunities, and I am looking forward to those challenges and opportunities if I'm so fortunate to be able to represent you again. We need to ensure that our rural schools, your children, have their diverse needs met, and that the rural communities are provided with the education and career paths for your children that they need to be successful. We need to address poverty and social issues. We need to address other issues that are very significant. The next board will need to look deeply into each of these issues. Strong, united voices will be needed to advocate for our students. I want to be one of those voices. Thank you.
So does anybody from the floor have any questions for any of the school trustees? Yes, Marion.
Trustees are actually required.
7.
7. And how many are running?
16.
16.
Wow.
You can go 1 to 7.
Yeah. So we had a really good presentation tonight of the school trustees. I know.
Oh, sorry.
It's okay. Go ahead.
I was just wondering if anybody has anything to say about the school closure in Dunster, and if there's any solutions to reopen that next year.
Does anybody want to address that?
I will. I believe there are ongoing conversations with our senior admin team, and there has been an agreement struck at a number. I hate to say, I thought the number was around 15 that they're talking about, but there is a...
Actually.
Okay, sorry, okay, then it's 20. But I believe the conversations are still happening. I have asked at the last couple senior admin meetings with the trustees if there is any more information coming back from those conversations, but that there is, like, that communication is still open with the community.
I'd like to talk about the school closure issue too. As a DPAC rep, I attended about 10 school closures last year, and they weren't pleasant, none of them. I believe that the school district needs to operate in a manner that keeps schools open. If a school is half full, then half that school can be used as a school, and the other half can be used for a community facility, such as a library or a community health clinic, or a community recreation space. We shouldn't be closing schools. We should be operating the district and the schools in a manner where they expand during economic expansion and contract during economic expansion and population. So I believe that you don't close schools, you adjust them.
Are there any other questions? Yes.
I have a question. Has anyone got any views on the way the rural schools are being funded at the moment? Because the small headcount, that's kind of...
Did you hear that?
Okay. This district has taken a very active stand on approaching the government around rural school funding. Definitely there are needs to be looking more closely at how rural schools and rural communities are funded to support all of the issues that we know are evident. We do have rural school funding formula that addresses rural schools, and it provides support for rural schools, but that support is indeed not enough. the per pupil funding does not work when we're dealing with declining enrollment. The BC School Trustees Association has put forward a proposal to the funding formula committee that is looking at how we may change that funding formula. So we're hopeful that there will be some changes. In the current climate, things are not looking optimistic, but we will continue to press for a better, more equitable way in which rural schools are funded. They're not urban schools, and they cannot be funded in the same way.
Said a lot better than I could have.
Are there any other questions? Yes, Peter.
Yes, thank you. I heard two of the candidates speak of alternative methods of finding money for education for schools for the districts. I'd like to ask, therefore, the gentleman on the far right, or far left, just what exactly he was proposing like that. Are schools supposed to finance themselves, or the parents finance education themselves?
Okay, we'll let him answer it then.
Thank you. Right now, we currently pay $3 a kid to use a database for the provincial government. There's companies in Prince George that will do it for $2, plus they'll expand it, include criminal record checks and stuff to include making the teacher's job easier. And if we were able to market to other districts, that company would be willing to give us a kickback for depending on how we can do it. So if we can develop our own software and use it, we can then market it to other districts across Canada as a revenue source, so we're not dependent on the government. So it would then help solve other funding issues.
Yes, Wayne. One more question. That's it.
As someone who was involved in the arts when I was younger, specifically music, it's a really important thing to me. I feel that these kinds of things really change the people that we become in our life. And for years, at least ever since this school has been open, we've struggled with arts and specifically music classes here. And I would like to know what your point of views are on that.
Okay, so we'll pull up the artist and have him answer that. Okay. You know, we tend to think about the arts as something little, as something that is, oh yeah, and we do that too. But art, creativity, is the absolute essence of education. When you create a good artistic program, the people who take part in that transform how they feel themselves and how they feel about the world around them. They experience the world in a different way, and that allows them to do things that they would not otherwise be able to do. We need arts programs. We need to look at them as a very serious, very integral part of the educational experience. We need to have them, we need to fund them, and we need to support them, and we need to recognize the value in them. That's what I think about the arts in education. Now, I'm going to add one other thing, and that is that a few weeks ago I was in New York City, and I visited the Sloan Kettering Cancer Center. You know, so I work for health, and I work for Northern Health, but don't hold that against me. Okay. And one of the things about the Sloan Kettering Center in Brooklyn is that when you walk in, their waiting room is an art gallery. And I spoke to them about that, and they said, we recognize that when you put art in a cancer center, people recover faster, experience less pain, and require less medication. We haven't even begun to see what the arts can do. Thank you.
Very quickly, because we have to go on to the business.
In regards to the arts question, I think that's the unfortunate part of funding issues is often programs like that are the first ones that are cut or not funded, or the support for special needs. So being fiscally responsible with the limited resources we do get can create those opportunities. And I think that's one of the exciting things about the 21st Century Learning Initiatives, is that maybe not everyone follows a math and science program, but they follow maybe an arts program and still come out with dogwood, right? So I think we're on the cusp of having so many of those initiatives put into place, and we just have to find the funding to make sure that that happens, because the arts are very important.
I'm going to cut the questions off there, and I want to thank the candidates of the school trustees for coming all the way from McBride and Prince George this evening. I think this is the biggest group I've seen in many years, and I thank you very much. Otherwise, we're going to let everybody have a 1-minute time to finish up. Hearing none, I'll start with the school trustees then, and we'll start at the top again, and I'll ask Elona, come up. And you have 1 minute.
Okay. Thank you for this opportunity. I was very pleased to be able to stay and listen to the regional district, what they had to say, because one thing that is very clear is that your school and the economy are very closely tied together. You need a healthy economy so that you can have a population at your school, and you need an attractive school so that you can attract good workers to your community. So it's interesting to hear that a lot of the issues that you've got here are issues that are in many other communities, and that the economic development plan is being worked on by the regional district and by your councillors, mayor and councillors here. So thank you very much.
Betty.
Thank you. I deliberately didn't tell you a lot of my background, and that because I'm hoping you'll help yourself to my literature, which is on the table out in the foyer. So one of the things I'd really like to talk about is that the lowest voter turnout is for civic elections. So I'm really hoping that all of you will be encouraged, just seeing the numbers of you out here tonight, to go out and vote, and at least take 1 or 2 other people with you to vote. 30% was the last statistic in the last civic election, and that's deplorable. So I'm hoping all of you will go out and vote. And when you go out to vote, I hope you'll put your X by Betty Beckering. Thank you.
Trish Bella.
I can make a couple promises tonight, and I can make these promises because they're me. I promise I will continue to be a strong voice for all 13,500 plus students in our district. I promise that I will continue to conduct myself in a professional manner and with respect for this role that I hold as trustee. I will continue to be approachable and work collaboratively with all of the district, or with all of our partner groups. My passion is here within the school district for all of our students, and I hope to have your support as I seek re-election to the board. Thank you.
Tim Bennett.
Again, I'd just like to say a big thank you to you all for coming out tonight and taking an interest in our students' education. Just to quickly touch on a couple of the questions that were asked. First off, I believe that not just the arts, but sports and other extracurriculars can truly empower students. And unfortunately, those are the ones that often get cut first. So I'm a big supporter of the skills that students can gain from arts and from sports. Education outside of the classroom. Also, for rural schools, I believe there are opportunities to partner to turn these schools, as Dawn said, to fill up these space and to make them true neighborhood learning centers and provide equal opportunities for all the kids. Again, let's work together. By working together, we can start something big for all children in the district. Thank you.
Chris Benson.
Thank you again. We've heard a lot of talk this evening about funding formulas and lobbying government to change it, and I think that that's all well and good, but we need to keep in mind a healthy dose of reality. The Liberal government isn't going to be changing for at least a year and a half. Given the constraints that they're under, I think that one of the key things that we have to look at as a district is making the money that we have now and the money that we're being given now work better for us. This includes supporting rural schools, supporting the arts, that was brought up. I remember in high school, that was one of the most formative parts of my high school education was the band program. I've seen that greatly diminished over the last decade and a half. I would strongly encourage you to, as pretty much everyone else here has, get out and vote. Encourage your neighbors, your friends, your family to do the same. I would appreciate your vote, but again, it's the most important that you just get out there and do it. Thank you again.
Andrew Burton.
Interesting evening. Okay, I think, you know, a lot of the work that I do is playing with words and teaching how to communicate effectively. And one of the things that always comes to me is that it is really important that we change the story, that we change the dialogue that we are having with the world around us. If we ask why we have to do this or why we can't do that, the people we're asking are going to answer that question. They're going to tell us that. We need to change the dialogue. We need to say, how do we make this happen? How do we do this? Because if you change the question, you change the answer that you're going to get. You change the criteria for the conversation. We need to change the criteria for the conversation around our schools and around the young people in our schools. We need to ask, how do we make this happen? That's what matters.
Valentine Crawford.
In the spirit of education, let me leave this with you. The traditional model of education is based on the industrial system, that our kids are products. I spent 6 years as a student activist that we as students are citizens. Education needs to change. Our students are dynamic learners. They are creative, they are passionate, and they are dedicated to what they are connected with. That is the education system I am advocating for, that I believe will address the needs of every single student, no matter what your learning disability is, what your learning challenge is, whether or not you're an A student or a C student. We are not the industrial model anymore. We are 21st century, and our kids are adapting faster than we are.
Brenda Hooker.
Just wanted to say thank you very much for coming out this evening. I know everybody has busy schedules, and we appreciate the opportunity to come and speak to you and present our platforms and our ideas for changing education. And it's hard to get those ideas across in just a couple of minutes. So I think everybody here as candidates has literature out there if you're interested in grabbing a pamphlet. And I also know a lot of the candidates have Facebook pages and different websites if you want to take a few minutes to browse some of that. Another excellent site is the Chorus for Rural Schools site that has a good dialogue with the trustee candidates. So anyway, thank you very much for coming. I really appreciate the opportunity to come and speak to you, even though public speaking is nervous for me. But thank you very much, and good luck to all of your local candidates and the regional district candidates. Thank you.
Sean Peters.
Thank you, everyone, for coming out. Get educated about what all the candidates are saying. Check us all out. We all have information, our phone numbers. Phone up the candidates, find out the info, ask the tough questions, and just get educated about your vote.
The Prince George Citizen polled all of us candidates, and one of the questions that it asked was, what is the most important issue facing the school board right now? My response was teacher job action. It affects education in Valemont, in McBride, Mackenzie, in Prince George. It affects education for our children. The job action's been going on for quite some time. I believe that at a district level, the board has a good working relationship with its teachers. What's happening is the BC Public School Employers Association, which negotiates on behalf of school boards, does not have a very good working relationship with the BCTF. In fact, that relationship is adversarial and non-productive. You vote me in, I'll make sure that the BC Public School Employers Association puts at least something on the table to end this teacher job action. Thank you.
Cheryl Worthington.
I'll try to keep within my time. First of all, I want to say that the relationship between your schools and your community, as has been noted, is extremely important, and it's a responsibility for all of us to address it together. I recognize the challenges facing your community, and I applaud the work and the energy that you've brought to trying to address them. I am an optimist. We can make a difference. With the right team, School District 57 will put your students, our students first, and our students will have the best educational opportunities we can provide. I again thank you very much for the opportunity for us to be able to speak to you tonight, and hopefully we'll all be able to meet you in the corridors and you can ask us further questions. Thank you, and again I ask for your support on November 19th. Don't forget to vote.